Hello guys, so on this video we're going to be covering the fire physics. It's a very interesting one because I think everybody likes the destruction effect, and it's the most heavily graphics consuming simulation to create. It takes time to bake, it takes time to cache the simulations. To get a very high quality smoke or fire effect, you need to crank up your resolution, and it takes time to cache. Yeah, so as you can see, we have right here on our screen a basic fire emitting from a ball, and you also have a cinematic fire effect. So I'm just going to show you basically there are two approaches to this. So one is really demanding on your computing power, and while the other is just a cheat way of like compositing fire footages into the Blender file. So let's just get right into it. Alright, so as we always do, we delete the default cube in Blender, right? It's like a ritual, right? So except I'm using it, but for now I'm not going to use the default cube. So just bring in a let's use an icosphere for this, right? So I'm just going to scale this down to, let's say, 0.2. So and the reason is that I do not want a large fire simulation, because the bigger it is, right, like I said, it's going to tell on the computing power. So I want something real quick. So I'm just going to bring in a UV sphere, scale it to 0.2. So there are two ways of bringing this domain. So I can just go to my physics panel, go to fluid. By the way, you're not going to see anything about fire right here, so we use fluid for that, and then change the fluid type to flow. So when you see flow, that's when you'll be seeing your smoke and all that. So I'm just going to be using basically fire and smoke. Geometry, set it to inflow, and when you press play, nothing works, right? Yes, so we need to add something more. We need a domain for it to work. So let's add like a cube. Let's add a cube to this. So let's just go to the physics and add fluid, and change the type to domain. So you can see it's going to give you this wireframe effect and a tiny cube down here, which tells you that it's working fine. Yeah, so now this domain serves as a bounding box in which the simulation operates. So anything outside this domain, you're not going to have any effect. So you can see now that we have a domain, you can see like kind of fire effects happening right here. So now when we press play, we have sort of fire in Blender, fire and smoke together, right? Very quick and easy. So let's go back to frame 1. Let's change this, select the sphere and the UV icosphere, and let's change to smoke, right? So when we change smoke, when we play, we have just smoke. So that's how to do smoke and fire. It's very easy. Basically, when you want smoke, switch to smoke. When you want just fire, go back and switch it to just fire. You can see we have fire, although fire still has a little bit of smoke, right? Because come on, there's no smoke without fire. So literally, so we still have some level of density to our fire, right? Yes, so that's how to create that. So that's one way to do it manually, right? And of course you can change the domain size, because it's still a cube. So I can just go to edit mode, I can just select let's say my face, and just move it upward, right, to any size that I want. You can even extend any part you want. Just you can't restrict yourself, right, to what you can do. Basically, you can increase the domain and go back to edit mode, right? So when I press play, you can see it moves as high as the domain goes, right? And you can see the smoke stopping at this bounds right here. Yeah, so that's the way one way to create a fire manually, right? So what's the another quick way to do that? So I can just delete everything, right, and just bring in the same icosphere, right? First icosphere, sorry, shift A, icosphere, let's to scale 0.2, right? So once your object selected, you can just come to object, look for quick effects, go to quick smoke. So this helps you create your domain box without you creating a box for that, and it keeps everything in check. So when you press play, you have your basic smoke, right? So all you need to do is just to switch the flow type to fire and smoke, or just fire, depending on what you want, right? So when I press play now, we have our fire. So you can see we have a low resolution fire, right? Because Blender is set to optimize your viewport, so we can increase this this resolution later at the end of the video. So now we have our basic fire, right? So let's check out some more settings down here. So when we go down here, we see what was called use flow. So when you uncheck that box, so use flow, when you uncheck, we don't have any fire flowing out of it. So that's what it basically means. So you can basically use the settings to animate your fire start and stop. So when I like leave this on, let's off it here, right? Let's say we want our fire to come on, let's say on frame 20. So we could just set a keyframe by pressing I, by hovering it. When I press I, you can see have yellow tabs. You can see a keyframe here, or you can just let me undo that. Or you can just click on this white tab. So any part in Blender you have this white tabs, this white knobs here, means you can keyframe that. So when I click on this white, I set a keyframe. You can see right here. So I can just go to the next frame by pressing the arrow on my keyboard on the right. Just move one step forward, right? And then I'm going to check this box here and then set a keyframe to activate it. So when I come back here and I press play, you can see a fire turns on in frame 20. Yeah, so let's say I want to turn it on here and turn it off at frame 50. So at frame 50, I would just still set a keyframe here and use my arrow key to move just one step forward and uncheck this use flow and set a new keyframe to deactivate it. You understand? So when I press play from beginning, it turns off and turn off. Can you see? Yeah, so this kind of effect can be used to start and off your fire. For example, you have a character that's trying to, like a firebender, right? Trying to like emit fire out of his hands to attack an enemy. So you can just turn on the fire at certain points in time, and then turn it off at certain points, right? So it has the fire just moving up and turn it off. It's as simple as that. So let's move forward. I'm just going to delete this, right? I don't need this anymore. So I'm just going to check my use flow. Yeah, so next we have fuel. So what fuel does, basically the more fuel you have in the fire, right, the more the fire goes wild. So the value of 1 keeps it at the default. When we increase this to like value of 5, right, meaning you're adding 5 times of the fuel you already have into the fire, and what that means, you're gonna have a pretty wild fire. So when you play, you can see our fire going really wild, right? Yeah, so that's what fuel does. So I'm just going to take that back to 1. Yeah, so we have vertex group. So vertex group tells you that you can emit fire just from a particular point or face in your object. So I'm just going to select this icosphere, go to your edit mode. My face selection is here, right? So I'm just going to select any face that I want, maybe 1, or probably hold 2. Hold shift and select like 2 faces, right? So we know how to add vertex group by now. So I'm just going to go to the object data, add a new vertex group here. You can name it whatever you want to, right? Any name you want to is fine. Then click on assign, and that is it. So go back to your object mode and go back to the physics. So in the vertex group, I can just select this black and click on the new vertex group which we created. So you can see fire is emitting only from those vertex group that we created. So when I press play, we have our fire emitting from this. So what can you do with this right now, right? If you want maybe fire to burn at specific parts in your scene or in your mesh, for example, like a logo fold, you want fire to burn at certain points in your logo fold, right? You can select those faces in your logo fold and just set it to vertex group, and the fire is going to emit from those particular points, or just any kind of ideas you want to do with it. So this gives you the power to do so. So I'm just going to cancel this, right? I do not want this. So back to our default. Yeah, so we've locked that down. So the next point here, we have our flow source. So flow source on default is mesh, meaning that the fire is emitting from all over the mesh. So when you click on that, we have what we call the particle system. So when you click on that, so you can add a particle system and convert your particle systems to be like fire, meaning you can create stuff like fireballs from this. So how do we do that? Let me just show you quickly. So with convert particle system, if you've not seen that, you can check the video right here. and the timestamp to check out the particle system video. So I'm just going to go to the particle system here. Make sure the icosphere is selected. Click on the plus icon, add a new system, which is this. You can rename it if you want, right? Maybe like fire particle, right? It's not compulsory to name it, right? But I'm just going to name mine fire particle. So I'm just going to maybe make mine like 100. I want something just really basic. So let me just simulate this. Okay, let me make the ball shoot up. Let me go to velocity on the z-axis. Let me just make this shoot up this way. Yeah, I want to shoot like fireballs in the air, right? Let me just do this. Yeah, so once you've done that, right? So all you need to do is just to go to your physics tab, and now under the particle system, you can click on that box. You can see your new particle created here, fire particles, right? So now when you press play, you can see you're shooting fireballs. Pretty easy, right? Cool stuff. So mind you, like I said, the domain covers just the area where you have the fire to simulate. So you can see as the balls pass the domain, you can see there's no fire in it. So if you want your fire to be everywhere the ball goes, now you have to like kind of scale this. And remember, the bigger you do this, right, the more you need computing power. So be mindful of how you use this, right? So I'm just going to play again. So it covers all the area. So you can see, of course, the resolution is quite low, which is quite understandable. But when I show you how to increase it, right, it's going to make so much sense. So that's how to do that. So I'm just going to undo my domain to the size that it was before. Yeah, so quick way to make fireballs effect, and that's how to use that. So let me reset my settings back to where it was. Select my UV sphere and take out this particle system and change it back to mesh, right? So we have this. So I'm just going to go back to the particle system and just take that out. Just click on the minus to take it out. Yeah, and we have that done, right? Back to our sim. So let's check out more settings. So make sure you stop your simulation and select your UV sphere and go back to your physics tab. So let's see what we have down here that's important for us. So we have initial velocity. So when you check that, so just like how the velocity works for the particle system, we can direct the angle towards where this fire is going to blow towards. So for example, we have the x, y, and z value, meaning when we add like a 10 on the x value, right, or your number, so where's our x here, the fire is going to blow towards the x. You can see it's blowing towards here. Let's say, let me increase my domain scale on the x-axis to create more space for it, just to test this. You can see it's blowing towards the x value, and then I can just do the same thing. If you want to blow to the opposite side, just go to -10, and this blows opposite, right? So you can take it back to 0, and same thing with y. You can just play with the value on the y. When you take it back to 1 and play, see it blows on the y. When you take it to minus the value, right, it blows hard. Take it back to 1 and play it. It blows. So same thing even on the z-axis as well, right? Take it back to 0. The z, let's use like 10 on the z. Let's see what happens, right? See, it blows up. You can do -10, right? I think it's going to blow downwards, I guess. Yeah, you can see. So that's how to use. So if you want to like create stuff like a flamethrower, or like point your fire flame to a certain direction in your scene, that's how to go about it, right? So I can uncheck that, except you need it. So for me, I'm just going to leave it at default. So basically just covering what you can do. So finally, there's something called texture, right? So when we add this texture, check the box and use the drop down menu to scroll down, right? So we can add a new texture. For now, we don't have any new texture. So how do we add a texture? So just come to the texture settings here, click on this, add new texture, and just click on this image or movie and choose a Musgrave texture. So what this helps us, it helps to refine the resolution of the fire. So we have this pattern, a black and white cloudy like pattern. So it just gives the edge of the fire and the behavior of the fire a more like random behavior. That's what it does, basically nothing much. So I can just check something on the color down here on the constraint, use the value of like 5. Yeah, 5, sorry, 5, right? So you can see we have the more defined black and white, so it gives a more defined edges on our sim. Of course, we can't see right here. Oh, I can even see right here now. When we add more resolution to our domain, we'll see all of these effects. Yeah, so I think that's it. So now let's go to the domain. Click on the domain box here. I think I'm going to scale this to the size that I want, because I feel it's too large, just to save me render time. Let's just scale on this y-axis. Yeah, so I just need something to, yes, I think this is fine for me. Let me take it up a bit in the z-axis right here. Yeah, so we have enough room, because when you have such a large domain, you're basically just wasting space that you're not basically using, right? And it's going to add to your calculation time. You can see it's even affecting the size of the fire. Yeah, so it's just good to know how to optimize these things, right? So just make sure you just scan your domain to the size of your fire, right? So this is cool. So now select your domain, go back to your frame 1 and go to the physics tab, and then you set to gas. So now we have what is called the resolution division. So we set it at 2 on default. So when I crank this up to like maybe 256, enter, you see it's going to increase the resolution of my fire. So now time scale helps with the speed of the fire. If you want like a slow motion fire, you go with a lower value. You want like a fast playing fire, go with a higher value. So I'm just going to leave this at default, right? So I'm just going to press play to bake. You can see now it's taking a lot of time. Just frame 2, frame 3, frame 4, and all that. So my FPS is very, very low now, because I kind of want like a high fire, right? So if this is slow for you, you can just press escape, right, to stop the simulation. You can just try maybe like 62, you can try 120, 150, try a value that your system can handle. So I think for this, I'm just going to try a value of 120. Let's try a value of 120 for this, right? So let's scroll down, let's see what we have here. So there's something called adaptive domain. When you check that box, your domain is going to adapt to the size of the fire, and it also helps with optimization, meaning when the fire is small, it's adapt to the size, and when the fire grows, the domain grows with the fire. So when I play, you see what we have here. You can see it's adapting to the size of the domain, and you can see my fire is having more like detail because my resolution is set to 120. So this tells you the higher the number you go, the better the simulation you get. So but for this tutorial, I'll just stick it to 120. Maybe for the final render, I can carry it up to like 250 thereabouts. So this works for me. So let's go down to see what we can still check. You can check dissolve, so that when the smoke touches the domain, it dissolves gradually and it doesn't like have a kind of collision object to that. So let's take it back to frame 1 and press play. Yeah, so basically that's the basic fire settings, right? Just go and explore these things. So one more thing, so what if we have an object that we want to interact with the fire? How do we do that? So let me add, let me add like a plane, like a cube, right? Let me just scale that to the size, and also scale in z-axis, right? Let me scale a bit this way. So we have a cube here. You can see the fire passing through it, right? And we don't want that. How do we make the fire to collide with this object? So all you need to do is just to select the cube, right? Add a fluid and make this an effector. So this is just going to make it a collision. You can see effector type collision. So when we simulate again, the fire is going to try to pass around the object. So can you see? Trying to pass around. Can you see? So it's colliding. So that's how to add a collision object to your fire. Yeah, so let me assume you shoot a fireball to your character to burn your enemy or something, right? So you have to add like a collision, an effector to that particular object that you're targeting with your fire. Do you understand? So it doesn't like pass through and looks all fake. So that's how to go about that. So I'm just going to stop this, take the frame 1 and delete this plane, this cube we have here. So select our bounding box. So how do we bake our fire? Very simple. We go here, you look for cache. I think cache is down here. You can choose the time frame for your simulation. Let me make this like 150. Right, let me set my timeline to 150 as well. Yeah, so I think type, you can use all to bake all the simulation effects, and then you can just click on bake all. So let me just increase my resolution. Let me try 250. Let me test my system 250, and then I'm just going to use bake all. Yeah, so it's baking. You can see it's baking. It's going to bake up onto 100%, and then it's done. So I'm going to fast forward this process, and then we'll be right back. All right, so we're done. Let's check our bake fire simulation. You can see it's baked, but it's still like still kind of laggy in my opinion. You can see the frame FPS is at 5. Yeah, so I'm just gonna work with this, right? So which is way better than what we have before. So we have a more detailed fire here. So the next step is to shade this fire, because when I stop this and let's say I try to render, go to my camera and let me just lock the camera view and just zoom. So when I try to render this, right, I'm going to see nothing, right? just the icosphere that I use for the outflow of the fire. So I'm just gonna like close this. Let's just quickly shade these fire. So I'm just gonna go to the shading tab right here. So we have this here. So when you want to shade the fire, right, be careful not to make the mistake of selecting the icosphere or the object you used to emit the fire, because that's not going to work. You have to select the domain to shade, right? So because I use the quick effect, which is this object here, quick effect, quick smoke, when you do that, it creates you a material already on default. You can see the name smoke domain material, but when you like kind of create like your domain yourself with the cube and all that, you have to add a new material, right? So that's the difference. And then you have to now delete this material and add a volume, right? A volume BSDF, right? Where's that? Sorry, principled volume, and connect volume to volume, right? But for the fact that you did not do it manually, right, you'd have to just let's delete this cube. So assuming you follow what I did, right, you did the quick effect, it's going to create you a material automatically. So select that volume, right? You have this here. So just look for the material. You can see you have a principled volume. It's connected from volume to volume, right? Which is what we want. So we're just going to add like a new node called volume info. So select flame to emission color and flame to emission strength. So you can see we're already having our smoke showing, right? In fact, let's take this to our render tab here to see what we have. We can press Z and click on render. So let's make the world darker so we have a more view of what we have here. So just take it down here. So you can see we have the white smoke showing here. So how do we add the fire effect to this? So we are going to basically let's add a light to our scene. We really have a light. If you don't have a light, just come here, add a light. You can add the sun, right? Come down to this light tab here and increase the strength to value of 10. So you can just R to rotate to an angle, right, which is okay. So now let's select back the domain. So let's increase the density to like 50. You can see it, you can see the smoke better, right? So next thing, let's add like a color ramp. Shift A, type for your color ramp, just drop it in between the emission color and flame, or you can just manually connect it by yourself, right? Let me just show you for those of you that are kind of confused. Just take this out from here, put it here, and then take color to emission color. Simple as that. right? So you could basically just come here and add a new flag. So hold Control and click here to add a new panel, right? So you can choose your color here. You can pick like a red down here, right? You can see that. You can hold Control, add a new one here. Maybe pick like an orange, and then for this white, you can just pick like probably like a bright orange, a bright yellow, right? Rather here, you can just play with the sliders, something around here. You want a little bit of the red, not so much, just for the top view. Yeah, so we need to change some more settings right here. So let's add a matte node to multiply the brightness. So Shift A, add a matte node. Click on that, add a matte node, and just drop it in between here. So we have a matte node in between this flame and emission strength. So let's switch it to multiply. It's an addition on default, so switch that to multiply, and then just increase the value, maybe like a value of 10 is going to make it 10, sorry, 1 0. Enter. You can see it's brighter, so we have something looking like a fire finally, right? So since we're using Eevee for this project, right, you can just go to your render tab here and check your ambient occlusion, your bloom for more like brightness. You can see the difference, right? You can check your screen space reflections. Then you can come down to volumetrics down here, open it up. So tile size, so the lower the pixels, the more quality you have. The higher the pixels, the less quality. So let's try 16. You see it's looking very blocky, like Minecraft kind of fire, right? We don't want that, so let's go with the lower value, which is 2. You can see more details, right? So I think for my settings, I'm just going to check the volumetric shadows, and let me see something else. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, you can go to the color management, and we're going to change the view transform to filmic. It gives a more realistic fire color. Let's try filmic look. No, not this, sorry. Yeah, filmic. Yeah, and then let's use the look. Let's use the high contrast. Yeah, I think this is way better, right? It looks more like fire. Yeah, so I think that's basically the fire setting. So if you want to see more smokes, right, you can just increase your density. Let's try like 100. You can see you have more smoke. If you want to see less, of course, go with less value. Let's say like 10. You can see your smoke is less, right? So that's how to add your smoke, right? And now when we try to render this view now, render image, would have something to show for, and we have a fire showing our render. So we can also hide this UV sphere if you don't want it to be shown. So you can just close this, select this icosphere rather, and then come to the outliner and uncheck this camera here to deselect it. Can you see? So now when you go to your render and render image, you're going to have your fire render image without the source showing. Do you get? So if you like this image, if you want to save it, you can just go to the image and save, go to your folder, type the name, choose your format, and save as, and that's it. Yes, so that's basically how to create your fire effects. If you want to save this fire with like a plain, like a transparent background, right, it's quite easy. You just need to come to film here, make sure you're in your render tab here, right? Come to film, open up that film, check the box transparency, and you have your transparent background to render. So when we render this as image, you would have a transparent background to composite your fire to any other footage you'd want, right? So even if you go to your output and choose your render aspect to render and choose a name, you go to choose, you either use your PNG sequence or you want to render as FFmpeg. You're still going to render with a transparent background, but if you don't want this, you can just go to this render settings here, go to film and uncheck the transparent, and then you have your black background. So that's how to create like a quick fire. Okay, so let me show you something cool. You can actually animate your ball to have like a ball moving with fire, right? So you could select your icosphere, turn on the auto key and press play, right, and press G to grab. So when you move this stuff, right, it records the position, and then you have your your motion recorded in your timeline, which is very cool. So when I play this, it's going to have the ball moving, right? But of course, because we've already baked, we can't have the effect. Alright guys, so that's how to quickly create the fire simulation inside of Blender, something real quick. So the next thing, I'm going to show you how to import a fire footage into Blender for a quick workflow. Yeah, so I'm just going to start a new project, general. I'm going to save this, right? Start a new project. So I am going to delete this cube as usual, right? And I'm going to import the file that I'm going to use for the environment. So the link is going to be in the description, so you can download the file to practice with as well. So I'm just going to file import. So it's a GLTF format or GLB format. So click on this import. So I'm just going to navigate to that folder, right, which is here. So when you go to the folder, just go into it and select this scene.gltf and click on the import GLTF. So just give it like maybe 2-5 seconds and you have your object in your scene. So now this is a scanned model, right? It's really dense, it's very scattered, but we're going to use it regardless, right? When I go to my edit mode, you can see it has a high number of polygons, right? So when I go to my shading tab right here, it comes with the textures, right? So it's not my business to move things. I don't want to edit anything, right? I'm just going to work with this. Okay, 3D scan object, right? So I just need to have my fire somewhere here to simulate. So how do we add a fire as plane? So now what we do, right? We're just going to add a plane, go to mesh, add a plane, and just bring it right up. So you're basically just going to position your plane to stand where you want your fire to be. So I'm just going to rotate it maybe on the Y value 90 degree, right? I'm just going to place it somewhere here. Let's say here would do. So next thing, you go to your shading tab. So add a new material. To hit to this, right? Navigate to the folder where you have this video. So this is the video footage that we are going to use for the fire effects. So navigate to the folder where you have it and just drag the video into your node area here, not the scene, your node area, right? Let me show you what I'm doing. So I have my video here in this folder. I'm just gonna like select this to drag here into it, and that's it. So you can just minimize this. So it's going to create like an automatic node for you, right? Where you have the fire files into here. So what we're going to do, we're going to connect the color to your emission. Sorry, just open up your emission. Connect the color to color, connect the color to alpha, and connect the color to base color, right? So we can have the color of the fire right here. So now we're having the fire showing, right? And how do we make it play? On the video node, just click on the cyclic and auto fresh, so it plays repeatedly in the viewport. So when we go back to layouts, when we press play, we have our fire playing. You can see this now, right? So but unfortunately it's sideways, so you just need to like stop playing and then rotate it. Then press R to rotate, probably on your x-axis. I think in 90 degrees fine, right? But you can just manually just rotate it depending on how you want it. Just whatever works for you, right? It's fine. Yeah, so that's fine. So I'm just gonna like place it here briefly. So we have a problem to solve here. So let's go back to our shading tab. Yeah, so let's just increase the color strength, emission strength to maybe value of 3, right, to get this glow. And then go to your material tab here, scroll down to the settings and change the blend mode to alpha hashed and the shadow mode to alpha hashed, right? You can see our black background has disappeared. Yeah, so we can basically add like a color ramp to play with the threshold of this fire. So you can add a color ramp. Let's shift A, add a color ramp to I think let's add a color ramp to the alpha channel right here. Yeah, so you can play with the threshold here to see, right, depending on what you want to keep. So I think I've lost a lot of details here. I'm just going to take the white up to, I think somewhere around here is fine for me. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. When I go to layout and I play this, so I have my fire, right? So that's very simple, very simple. So how do we make this very cinematic? So I can just go to my camera here, lock it, just gonna like pan, just pan right somewhere here. So I can just have like an angle that I want. Let me select my camera and change, go to the camera settings here. Maybe change my focal length. Let me just take it back to like, let me see, like 30 is fine for me. So I'm just gonna like, yeah, 30 is fine. Just like kind of start around here. And frame 1, I might just want to keyframe it, right? And just let me take it to like frame maybe 120 and just zoom in. I'll hold my control and middle mouse button and just zoom in a little bit, right? And just can just pan down, can rotate a bit, right? And to the keyframe. So we have something smooth like this, right? So I can just select the keyframes and right click and change the interpolation mode to linear, so it moves smoothly, it does not ease in or ease out, right? So let's say I'm okay with this. I'm just going to set my end to a 120 into a 120. So this is fine. So I'm going to add something else. I'm going to add a depth of field. Open the option and pick maybe like the plane. So we have our camera focused on the plane, and then we have like a more blurred background, right, to give it more of the cinematic tone that we're looking for. So now when you go to your render tab, right, everywhere is dark. We have no light, and mind you, the plane is not going to emit this area that we want. So we are basically just going to add like a point light. So I'm going to click on my 3D cursor here and click where I want the light to be around here, and then Shift A to add a light, add a point light. So we're going to come here and increase the strength to maybe like a 50, right? And then change the color to that fiery color. And you can see we have the light giving that fake illusion of illuminating the environment. So let's go back to our shading view, and let me go under my camera view. So I have my light here, the point light. Let's go to the move tool. So now mind you that this is a plane, so it's going to block the light from the back view as well. So I can just Shift D to duplicate and move it to the back. So we have light at both sides, you understand? So let's go back to the camera view and go back to the render view. So we have the lights affecting the back of this area, do you understand? So that's how to fake it. So when you go back to frame 1 and press play, you have the cinematics going, right? Very sweet and simple. So one final thing for the world, right? You can just go to world settings and just make it dark as always, because since it's a night, or if you want it to be more more cinematic, right, you can just add a sunlight to your scene, right? Just click on your light and switch it to sun. It's too bright, of course, so just take the value to like maybe like a 3, right? So we have some kind of light, and change the color to maybe like a blue to have that night tone, and you can take the gradient something really low, so it's not overshadowing what we have, right? Yeah, you can go back to your world and still make it dark. Yes, so this is what we want basically, and it's as simple as that. So that's how to use your plane to create a quick fire effect in your scene. So now the disadvantage to using a plane is that you can't have a 360 rotation. You're gonna have a flat view, except you want to duplicate your plane, Shift D, and then you want to now like rotate on Z axis and have it like this. So when you rotate it, at least you're seeing some level of 3D dynamic fire to your scene, right? So it just depends on how you want to fix it, right? Yes, so this works. So but just that you have two fires playing the same way, so you can offset one of them by going to your shading tab. Just select one of the plane which you duplicated, right, and just go here. You see offset. You can just set a value of maybe like 10. You're going to offset the fire and make it look like there are two different fire playing. So press play. I think 10 is even still low. Let's use a high value. Let's use like 70 or thereabouts. Let's go back to layout. So play. Yeah, we have some kind of offset. You just play with the value to see what works. Yeah, so that's basically how to use the plane style of fire to get. So it just depends on what you want to create. So I want you guys create something cool with this. So I have a task for you. I want you to create something with this flame, which is a candle, right? So create like a candle in Blender and create model the candle, model the wick right down here, and add this plane to your candle. And let's see how that looks. Create something cinematic. You can create like a small room scene if you have the time, and let's see what you can create. So guys, thank you for sticking by this very long tutorial, right? I did not intend for it to be this long. I hope you gained something really valuable. And have any issues, right, you know what to do. Just hit me by the comment section. I always read the comments and I reply every single one of you. And cheers and have a great one.